I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. It was nearly 2 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep, not with Miles breathing so steadily beside me, not with the weight of something unnamed pressing on my chest. I turned toward the nightstand, reaching for a glass of water when his phone vibrated. It lit up the dark like a small explosion. I wouldn't have looked. I didn't want to look. But my eyes, my tired, aching eyes, locked onto the words on the screen as if they were meant for me. My silky tiger, you were incredible. I miss you already. Thank you for the 2 unforgettable nights. My hand froze midair. My pulse roared in my ears. 2 nights? He was supposed to be in Houston for a leadership summit. The thought of him in a hotel room with someone else, while I made pot roast and helped Mira with her history project, made me physically ill. I stood up on shaking legs and stumbled toward the bathroom. The cold tiles under my bare feet grounded me. I turned on the faucet, cupped icy water in my hands, and splashed it over my face, hoping to wake up from whatever this was. But I didn't wake up. In the foggy mirror, I saw someone I barely recognized. My skin pale, my eyes wild, my mouth slightly open like it wanted to scream, but forgot how. 20 years, I whispered to my reflection. 20 years of my life. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually, I returned to bed. Miles hadn't moved. He was curled up, peaceful, just like always. Like nothing was wrong. Like everything was still perfect. But something inside me had cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough to change everything. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the kitchen window, making everything look too bright, too ordinary. Miles rushed through breakfast, sipping coffee like it was any other day. "You look pale," he said casually, buttering a piece of toast. "Didn't sleep well." "Yeah," I replied, placing his coffee cup in front of him. "I had a strange dream. In it, everything I believed in turned out to be a lie." He paused just for a second, then smiled. "Dreams are weird like that. But we're real, Celeste. You and me, we're solid." I smiled back, but the hollowness in my chest throbbed. I watched him kiss my cheek, grab his briefcase, and leave with the same ease he'd always had. And I stood there, still holding his empty plate, my fingers twitching with the urge to throw it against the wall. Instead, I picked up my phone and called the one person I thought I could trust. "Hey, Tamsin," I said, trying to sound normal. "Can you meet for coffee? I really need to talk." She didn't ask why, just said she'd see me in 30 minutes at our usual place. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and warmth. Tamsin was already there, seated in our favorite corner booth, nursing a latte. Her auburn hair was perfectly curled, her makeup flawless, like always. "You look awful," she said, half joking, half concerned. "What happened?" "Miles," I blurted, my voice louder than I meant. "He's cheating." She blinked. Her fingers drummed nervously on the side of her cup. What makes you say that?" I didn't answer. Instead, I held up his phone screen. The text, the one still burned into my brain. Her eyes locked onto it. For a split second, something flickered in her expression. Guilt? Shock? Fear? "He's someone's tiger now," I said bitterly. And I was the idiot who thought we were unshakable. Tamsin looked away. "Maybe it's not what it seems." "Don't," I cut her off. "Don't defend him. Don't make this softer than it is." She said nothing. A cold thought slid into my mind then, sharp and sudden. Why was she defending him? Why did she look so uncomfortable? Why was her voice too high, too quick? "I'm leaving," I said, standing up. "I'm taking the kids and going to my parents' place in Blue Ridge. Rowan comes home from college this weekend, and Myra's still on her school trip. I'll pick them both up, and that's it. I'm done." Tamsin just nodded, staring into her coffee as if it held answers I wasn't meant to hear. "Are you sure?" she asked, almost too quickly. "It's a big decision." "You think I should stay?" I narrowed my eyes. "Pretend this didn't happen?" She hesitated. For just a second. That second was enough. Whose side are you on? I asked sharply. Mine or his? Yours, she said. Too fast. Too defensive. Of course yours. I don't want you to do something you'll regret. No, I said. I regret staying this long. And with that, I left her sitting there, holding her cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. She didn't follow me. She never did. I almost forgot Myra's backpack. I had packed everything, clothes, toiletries, her favorite pajamas with the little stars on them. But the school had sent home a reading packet that was due Monday. Her books were still in the front closet. I cursed under my breath as I parked in front of the house, heart pounding harder than it should have. The sun had set. Shadows stretched across the lawn like arms. The driveway was empty. Miles wasn't supposed to be home yet. I told myself I had 15 minutes, maybe 20. Just grab the backpack and go. I moved quickly through the house. The air felt different, like it didn't belong to me anymore. As I reached for the closet door, I froze. The sound of a key turning in the front lock sliced through the silence. My blood turned to ice. He wasn't supposed to be here, not yet. I panicked. The back door. I could sneak out through the kitchen and down the side yard. I didn't want a confrontation. Not tonight. But then I heard it. A voice. A woman's voice. Don't be so nervous, Miles said with a chuckle. She has no idea. And then the reply. I don't know. She seemed different this morning. Like she knew something. I stopped breathing. That voice. That soft, high voice that used to whisper secrets in college dorm rooms and comfort me during hospital stays. I would know it anywhere. Tamsin. I backed into the kitchen wall and felt the world tilt sideways. My throat clenched so tight I couldn't even gasp. My best friend. My maid of honor. My daughter's godmother. I stood there paralyzed, one hand gripping the edge of the countertop as footsteps moved through the foyer. I heard them laugh. Heard Miles say something about finally being alone. Heard Tamsin sigh like it was a relief. They were heading upstairs, to our bedroom. Each creak of the staircase hit me like a slap. I used to love that sound. Miles used to carry me up those steps when we were young and stupid and thought love could shield us from anything. I don't know what made me move, but suddenly I was climbing the stairs after them, one foot in front of the other, my knees shaking, my hand trailing along the banister like I might fall. The door to our bedroom was ajar. Light spilled through the crack, golden and warm. Voices. Laughter. I took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and flipped the light switch. The room snapped into clarity. Miles froze, shirt half unbuttoned, his hair a mess like he'd just been running his hands through it. Tamsin stood beside the bed, her face pale, hair tangled, eyes wide with horror. It's not what it looks like, Miles said too fast, stepping away from her like that would undo anything. I tilted my head. Really? I asked calmly, because it looks a hell of a lot like my husband and my best friend were about to screw each other in my bed. Tamsin opened her mouth, then closed it. Her lips trembled. She looked like a ghost. Miles began. Don't, I said. Don't even try. He looked wounded like I'd just stabbed him. The irony almost made me laugh. You know, I added, my voice like ice. You two could have picked any bed in the city. But no, you chose. You really went for the symbolism, huh? Inside, I was unraveling. My whole body felt like it was vibrating, but outside I was still, steady, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Tamsin tried to speak again. Celeste! No, I said sharply, turning to her. You don't get to say my name. Not now. She flinched. You remember how many times you told me I was lucky? That Miles was a dream husband? That we were the perfect couple? Was it all part of the game? Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Don't answer, I whispered. I already know. Miles stepped toward me. I held up my hand. Don't come any closer, I said. I don't want to hear your explanations. I don't care, because I have both your little texts in my phone now. My silky tiger. My tigress. How poetic. He paled. I packed my things, I continued. The kids are coming with me. You two can have each other. Enjoy your little jungle. And I walked out. He called after me. I didn't stop. I carried my suitcase down the stairs, past the photos we once took in Paris, past the coat Rack Mira helped decorate with stickers. Miles followed me to the door, pleading, "Please, this isn't what you think." "No," I cut him off. "It's exactly what I think." He reached for my arm. "I love you, Celeste." I turned to him, calm as ice. "Too bad you forgot to tell your tigress." Then I opened the door and stepped out into the night. The highway blurred beneath my tires. I don't remember turning onto it, or checking the fuel gauge, or even breathing. My fingers gripped the wheel too tightly. My knuckles were white. The air in the car felt suffocating, thick with memories that had nowhere else to go. I saw flashes of everything. My wedding day, Myra's first steps, the night Rowan got his college acceptance letter. All of it like scenes from someone else's life, someone who still believed in loyalty. A warning light blinked on the dashboard. Low fuel. Of course. I muttered a curse and pulled off the next exit. The station looked like something out of a late-night movie. Empty, too quiet, lit by harsh fluorescent lights that made everything feel sterile and unreal. I stepped out into the night air, cold against my skin. I barely noticed the man behind the counter at first. I was too busy fumbling with my credit card, too busy trying to keep the tears from falling. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice low and steady. I didn't look up. "Why would you say that?" "Because most people don't cry while filling up their tank." I touched my cheek and realized he was right. My skin was wet. I hadn't even noticed. "Sorry," I mumbled. "No need," he said. "Everyone has a bad day. Want a coffee?" "On the house." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to run, to be alone, but something in his voice made me pause. Not pity, not curiosity, just calm. He handed me a paper cup and poured. "I'm Jude, by the way, owner, cashier, and midnight philosopher." I gave him the ghost of a smile. "Celeste." We sat at a tiny table tucked in the corner of the store, surrounded by dusty maps and racks of beef jerky. The heater hummed softly in the background. "I wasn't planning to tell anyone this," I began, staring down at the steam rising from the cup. "Not for a while. But then again, I wasn't planning on finding out my husband's cheating with my best friend either, so he didn't flinch. Didn't ask for details. Just waited. I told him everything. 20 years of marriage. The message on the phone. The voices in the hallway. The laughter as they climbed my stairs. "I thought we were solid," I said, my voice cracking. He used to hold my hand in parking lots and tell me I made him feel grounded. And Tamsin, she was there for every big moment of my life. My maid of honor. My daughter's godmother. I trusted her with everything. "Sometimes the people closest to us," Jude said quietly, "carry the sharpest knives." I looked at him, startled. "You don't seem surprised." "I'm not," he said. "I lost my wife 5 years ago. Car accident. After she died, a few close friends disappeared. Some reappeared with truths I never wanted." "I'm sorry," I whispered. He nodded, eyes soft. "It's part of why I keep this place. Quiet. Predictable. I talk to strangers. They leave. No attachments. So why talk to me?" He shrugged. "Maybe because you looked like someone who needed someone to sit with her while the world fell apart." The cup in my hand had gone cold, but my chest, for the first time that night, didn't feel frozen. "You have kids?" he asked gently. 2. Rowan's in college. Myra's 13. They're everything. He smiled. "Then you've already got something worth starting over for." I looked at him then, not just looked, but really saw him. The graying beard, the tired eyes that still managed to be kind. There was no spark, No sudden swell of romantic music in my head. Just something quieter. Safer. Thank you, I said. For the coffee. And the humanity. He raised his cup. To surviving betrayal. And bad gas station lighting. I laughed. It sounded strange. Like it didn't belong to me yet. But I held on to it anyway. We exchanged numbers before I left. Not as a promise, but as a possibility. In case you need more caffeine and less judgment, he said with a wink. I drove the rest of the way to Blue Ridge with the heater on and the windows cracked just slightly. The trees blurred by like shadows. Somewhere in the mountains, my parents' house waited. And for now, that was enough. My parents' house in Blue Ridge hadn't changed. The porch still creaked in the same spots. The air still smelled like pine and old wood. But everything inside me was unrecognizable. Mom met me at the door, still in her nightgown, hair pinned back tight like always. Her eyes scanned the suitcase in my hand, the tight line of my mouth, and she didn't ask questions. She didn't have to. You can sleep in the old guest room, she said. I'll make up the bed. I nodded. Mira was already curled up under her childhood blanket by the time I came upstairs. Rowan, bless him, had driven in from his campus hours early. He met me at the door with a worried look and a silent hug. I didn't say much that night. The next morning, Mom made blueberry pancakes like we were trying to pretend life was still sweet. Then, while Mira and Rowan were outside with Grandpa, she dropped the bomb. I invited Miles, she said, not looking at me. I put down my fork. You did what? He's your husband. You two need to talk. No, Mom. We don't. Not now. Not here. She folded her napkin slowly, deliberately. Celeste, all men stray now and then. It doesn't mean you burn the whole house down. I stared at her. You think this is about one mistake? He's been sleeping with my best friend. Her expression didn't change. It's still your marriage. And that's supposed to mean what? That I stay and swallow the betrayal. That you fight for it. I pushed my chair back and stood. I've been fighting for this marriage for 20 years. I'm not going another round. She didn't argue, just sighed like I'd disappointed her in a quiet, permanent way. Later that afternoon, I sat with Mira in the garden while she drew tulips and pretended she wasn't listening. Is Daddy still coming back? She asked, her voice small. No, sweetheart. Not in the way you're used to. She nodded once and kept drawing. That night, I filled out the divorce papers. The court date came sooner than I expected. Savannah was gray and cold when I arrived at the courthouse. I wore a navy blue suit I hadn't touched in years. The heels pinched. My heart did worse. Miles was already there. He looked tired, hollowed out, not a trace of his usual polish. We sat across from each other without speaking while the lawyers worked through the logistics, like we were dividing office supplies, not a life. Then came the moment. The division of assets, the judge said. Let's review the proposed terms. I'd like to make a statement, Miles interrupted. My attorney looked at me, surprised. Miles stood, hands at his sides. I waive my right to any shared property, he said. Everything goes to Celeste and the kids. The house, the car, the accounts. All of it. Gasps. Whispers. Even the judge looked stunned. You understand what you're saying, Mr. Harrington? She asked. I do. I stared at him, not with gratitude, with confusion. What was this? Guilt? A power play? A farewell? Then I saw her. Tamsin. She had slipped in through the back of the courtroom, sitting alone, her coat drawn tightly around her. She looked like a ghost, thin, pale, eyes hollowed out by something deeper than sleepless nights. I turned back to Miles. His expression hadn't changed, but something in his posture did. He didn't look at her. Not once. Something had shifted between them. The final blow, or just the truth settling in. When it was over, I walked past him without speaking. I didn't owe him anything anymore. Not words, not tears. Outside the courthouse, I felt the cold bite my skin, the kind that wakes you up. The kind that says, "It's over. Move." I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I just kept walking. The townhouse smelled like new paint and old memories. Most of the boxes were still sealed. The walls were bare. But for the first time in months, I felt like the air belonged to me. Rowan carried a box labeled kitchen and dropped it with a grunt. "Where do you want this?" "Anywhere but the stairs," I said with a tired smile. Mira skipped in behind him, holding up a painting. "Look, Mom, for the living room. It's abstract." It was a swirl of bold, bright color, red and gold bleeding into deep blue. Chaotic, but hopeful. I nodded. "Perfect." That night, after the kids went to bed, I started unpacking one of the last boxes from the old house. Photos, cards, college trinkets, a box I hadn't opened in years. At the very bottom, beneath yellowing receipts and half-used notebooks, was a bundle of letters, tied with a ribbon that had faded to gray. The handwriting was Tamsin's. My hands went cold. Each letter was addressed to Miles, postmarked a year before we met. I opened the first one. "I miss you. Why won't you write back? I wait every day for the mail, hoping to see your name." My stomach twisted. These weren't friendly notes. They were love letters, aching and young and foolish. I opened another. "You promised you'd wait for me. I don't understand what changed. Please, if you've moved on, just say so." Another. "I guess I have my answer now. You're gone, but I won't forget." The last envelope held a photo. Tamsin and Miles, barely older than teenagers, leaning against a fence, smiling, in love. I sat back on the floor. My breath came in shallow bursts. They'd known each other long before I came into the picture, and no one had ever said a word. I couldn't sleep that night. The next morning, I drove to the one person who might fill in the blanks, Miles's mother. She met me on the porch with the same guarded expression she'd always worn. "Celeste," she said, surprised. "Come in." Her house smelled like lemon polish and memories. Nothing had changed. Not the teacups. Not the floral wallpaper. "Did you know about them?" I asked bluntly, skipping the pleasantries. She blinked. "About who?" "Tamsin and Miles. From before college." Her mouth tightened. "That was a long time ago." "But it happened." She sighed. "They were neighbors. Close. He wrote her letters for months after we moved away. Never got a single reply." "Ist the her." "That's not true. I found her letters. She sent dozens. He never answered because he never got hers either." She frowned. "He wrote every week. We even checked the mailbox together." Something clicked. "Did anyone else live with you then?" I asked. "My mother," she said slowly. "Why?" I pulled out the final letter, the one that explained all. It wasn't from Tamsin. It was from her grandmother, to Tamsin's mother. I intercepted all his letters. She doesn't need distractions. Let her think he moved on. She deserves someone better. I watched Miles's mother read it, her hands trembling. Oh my God," she whispered. "They never knew." "No," I said. "They didn't." When I got home, I sat in the backyard, phone in hand, staring at the name I never thought I'd call again. Miles answered on the second ring. "Celeste." "I found the letters," I said, "and the truth." Silence. "I think you and Tamsin spent 20 years believing you were abandoned. But the truth is, someone made sure you never had a chance." He exhaled. "So it was real?" "Yes." He didn't ask what I wanted. He didn't apologize. He just said, "Thank you for telling me." And then he hung up. I sat there, staring at the trees, the sky, the past. Was I the rebound? The replacement? Maybe in the beginning. But somewhere along the way, we became something else. Something that, for a time, felt real. Still, real doesn't always last. She showed up at my door with no makeup, no earrings, and no mask. Tamsin looked older than I remembered. Not in the way time does to a face, but in the way regret does. She stood on my porch like a stranger afraid to knock. I opened the door before she found the courage. I need to talk, she said. I don't. Please, Celeste. Something in her voice stopped me. Not guilt, not even desperation, just exhaustion. The kind that settles deep in your bones when you finally run out of ways to pretend. I stepped aside. We sat across from each other in my tiny kitchen, the table between us like a battlefield. I offered no coffee, no gorms, just silence. I loved him, she said softly. I know. I loved him before you even met him. He was my first everything. But he moved away, and I never heard from him again. Because your grandmother intercepted his letters. Her eyes widened. You know. I found them. All of them. She looked like someone who'd just been told her whole life was a lie. I thought he'd forgotten me, replaced me. So when I met you in college, and you were with him, I told myself I was over it, that it didn't matter. But it did. She nodded. At first, I became your friend just to stay close to him, she confessed. But then, I actually started to love you. As a friend. As family. That part wasn't fake. You still slept with him. It wasn't planned, she said quickly. It happened 3 months ago. His company's holiday party. We both drank too much. 1 minute we were laughing, and the next, don't. I cut her off. Don't give me the blurry details. Tamsin flinched. I'm not here to justify it. I just needed you to know it didn't go on for years. It wasn't some affair behind your back all that time. You think that makes it better? No, her voice cracked. No, I think it makes it worse. Because it means we both knew better and still did it anyway. I stood, arms crossed. Tell me something. Did you think he was going to leave me? Did he promise that? She hesitated. That was enough. Did he tell you he loved you? I pushed. Yes, she whispered. After you left. He came to me and said he didn't know what he wanted. And you believed that was love. She didn't answer. Of course you did, I said. You spent 20 years clinging to a ghost of a boy who never got to grow up. That's not fair. Isn't it? I snapped. You think I don't know what that feels like? To hold on to someone who stopped choosing you the minute you weren't convenient anymore. She looked away, biting her lip to keep from crying. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I always imagined if Miles and I ever had a chance to be together, it would feel like home, she said. But it didn't. It felt wrong. Like we were pretending we hadn't become different people. You have, I said. He did. And so did you. She nodded. I'm moving to Seattle. I got a job offer. I need to go somewhere where everything doesn't remind me of what I ruined. I didn't ask for a goodbye hug. I didn't cry. When she left, I felt like a door had closed. When I had needed shut for far too long. That night, my mom came over. She stood in my kitchen, studying me like I was a puzzle she'd never solved. You're really going through with it, she said. I already did. She exhaled. I always told you to keep the family together. That forgiveness was the key. I know. But I was wrong, she said, her voice low. I thought staying made me strong. But I see now, it just made me disappear. I want you to know, she continued, that whatever happens next, I'm proud of you. You didn't let anyone else decide your worth. I didn't have words. I just nodded. After she left, I texted Jude. Dinner this weekend? Just you and me. No ghosts. His reply came fast. Saturday. I'll bring the wine. You bring the stories. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I looked forward to something. Spring came quietly that year, not with the loud bloom of wildflowers or the sudden buzz of bees, but in softer ways, like the light that stayed a little longer in the evenings, or the breeze that carried warmth instead of memory. I had been in my new place in Greenville for 6 months. The townhouse wasn't large, but it was mine. The floors creaked in odd places. The paint still smelled faintly fresh. And there were mornings I'd wake up and forget, for a blissful second, that my life had fallen apart to make room for this one. That Saturday, Jude showed up with a bottle of red and a bag of groceries. He didn't ask if he could cook. He just moved into my kitchen like he belonged there, like it wasn't something that needed permission. "Is this garlic or a small meteor?" he asked, holding up a bulb with mock suspicion. I laughed. "Both. Depends on how much you use." Dinner was simple. Pasta, bread, a shared bottle of wine, and conversation that drifted in and out of old scars and new beginnings. Afterward, we sat on the small back porch, watching the sky fade into stars. "You ever think about what you'd say," he asked, "if you could go back and talk to yourself a year ago?" I thought for a moment. I'd tell her the house would be emptier, but her heart wouldn't be. And that it's okay to mourn something even if you're the one who walked away from it. He nodded. I'd tell myself that grief isn't a dead end. It's just a bend in the road. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't need to. There was something sacred in not rushing, in building something slow, brick by careful brick. Love, I was learning, didn't always come wrapped in fireworks. Sometimes it came in the form of someone who knew how to sit in silence with you and not fill it. A few weeks later, Mira painted a mural on the wall in her room. Blues and golds and soft whites. She called it Mom's Fresh Start. I didn't stop her. I let her make her mark on this new chapter, too. Rowan came home for the summer and surprised me by bringing someone with him, a girl named Kat. She was quiet and kind and watched him with the kind of gaze that didn't take anything for granted. I liked her immediately. Even my parents were different now. My mother, who once swore her role was to hold the family together by enduring silently, joined a volunteer group that traveled to local shelters. My father drove her twice a week and started writing poetry. It was bad poetry, but it was new. Then one day, out of nowhere, Miles called. "I'm not calling to fix anything," he said quickly. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. For all of it. Not just what I did, but for how long I let you be alone in that marriage." I didn't say much, but I listened, and when I hung up, I felt no anger, just a faint ache, like touching a scar that had finally stopped bleeding. Later that week, I found myself back at the same gas station where I first met Jude. The sky was overcast, the pumps were still finicky, and the little cafe table inside was now surrounded by potted plants and travel mugs for sale. He looked up from behind the counter, eyes lighting up. "You again," he said. "You never did finish telling me the rest of your story." I smiled. "That's because I'm still writing it." We sat down side by side this time. No past to outrun, no future to chase, just two people, exactly where they were meant to be. And for the first time, I wasn't holding my breath for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't waiting to be replaced, or betrayed, or left behind. I was just here, alive, forged by fire, and finally free.